So a few days ago, I saw Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. And was it a good movie? Yes, but did it have flaws? Totally. I wasn't really expecting to see this movie anytime soon, just because, we usually don't see it right when it comes out. Now, we didn't see it on opening night. It was, I think, 3 or 4 days ago that my mom was like, okay, we're gonna go to Chipotle. And I was like, Chipotle? Wow, that's insane. I've never been to a Chipotle. I haven't filmed an intro on how I'm a vegan and I'm gonna try Chipotle for the first time. And I was really excited. And they were like, haha, we're actually at the movie theater. We're gonna see Star Wars. And I was like, wow, that's epic. And I saw Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker pretty freaking early. So this is gonna be my long, no filter, loud review about this movie because I have feelings and it made me feel a certain way. So let's just jump right into it. Guys, whew. This is going to be a spoiler review just because it's really hard to describe what I'm feeling about this movie without going into spoilers. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, then you probably want to click off this video just because I go really in detail about stuff that goes on in the movie. Beyond this point, there's spoiler 3, 2, 1. Okay, Kylo Ren dies. We start out in the movie by zooming into a planet that is revealed to be Mustafar. Basically, Anakin got burned up and he became barbecue. That planet, we see our favorite edgy emo boy, Kylo Ren, and he's taking names and killing some people, which is not very PG-13 of Disney. And evidently, he is looking for a Sith Wayfinder, okay? Okay, so this movie takes place a little after The Last Jedi, and The Last Jedi, of course, was directed by Rian Johnson, who is gonna have a different take on the movie because he's a different director, okay? I'll get into how I feel about the whole split director thing in the end of the review, or nearer to the end of the review. It's a whole thing. So there's a lot of exposition in like the first quarter of this movie, and it's kind of hard to keep up with it because they're having to explain so much stuff. This is bombarding you with Sith Wayfinders, and this dude's alive, and this chick knows stuff, and this guy's hinting at using the Force, and this guy's taking like people out, and Palpatine. So it's kind of hard to keep up with the first quarter of the movie, but JJ tried his best to kind of squeeze all of the information that you needed to kind of the first quarter of the movie, just so you weren't having to have a whole movie of exposition. To congratulate them for that, but the first quarter is definitely exposition heavy. In the trailers, we have the Palpatine voiceovers, we have the Palpatine cackle, laugh, thick cackle. Is that a real word? Word. So I wasn't sure how the whole Palpatine laugh and dialogue thing was gonna play out, because like with the Last Jedi trailer, in the end, Luke says it's time for the Jedi to end, and people are like, oh my god, he's gonna be a Sith, and it turned out that he wasn't. It was just because he was being edgy and emo. Disney and Star Wars itself just has a way of tweaking things a little bit just to get viewers in seats, because Disney cannot have enough money. I was pretty sure that this is how the whole Palpatine thing was gonna work out, but then Ian McDiarmid like showed up to like the Star Wars events, and he was just really featured a lot, and I was concerned that this wasn't just a flashback or Force dream sequence kind of thing. And I was right, because 15 minutes in, it's revealed that Palpatine is alive. Okay, how? Play the footage of the Death Star 2 exploding, please. Do you know someone that can survive that? Now, I know Palpatine is Emperor Palpatine, okay, he's the leader of all the Sith, but there's only so much people can stand physically and emotionally. And this boyo be very old, so I'm not sure how he survived. But he survived, and he's on this like little arm crane thing being dragged around swingy swangy. Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, dude, emo boy, goes down to this giant temple, and Palpatine's alive, and he's like, haha, okay, I'm alive, woo, do my bidding, and you will have all my Star Destroyers, woo. And Kylo Ren's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do that for you, bro. Awesome, yay. It's just... I was not expecting Palpatine to be alive this early in the movie, okay? I don't know, just something about it just, here's my thoughts on it. It kind of felt like J.J. Abrams had a story going. He was like, this is what my 3 ideas were. And I feel like Disney was just so distracted by the moolah that they weren't really planning out how these movies were going to turn out. They were just like, okay, you get a Star Wars movie, you get a Star Wars movie, and you get a Star Wars movie. Colin Trevorrow, Hotel Trivago, he dropped out of doing episode 8 or 9, I believe. He directed Jurassic World. People were a little concerned about that because they were like, I thought we were going to have JJ, then Ryan, then Colin. Okay, that's how it was going to go. Yeah, JJ, he did The Force Awakens, okay? That was a really good movie. It was safe, but it was good. And then Ryan did his thing, okay? Last Jedi is a whole mixed bag of anyways, and JJ had this idea of this Snoke character, okay? He was going to be predominant in this trilogy. He was leaving most of the old stuff behind. He was trying to bring up a new villain. And Ryan said, no, I don't like this character, and wiped him out. So JJ, trying to finish his story, is like, but my character's gone. What am I supposed to do? So he's like, I guess we're bringing back Palpatine. He's alive. I feel like JJ kind of had to unscrew up what Ryan screwed up. So he was just kind of forced to bring Palpatine back, because what he was going to do? Bring Darth Vader back? That's the most stupidest thing ever. Even though that's what 8-year-old me would have wanted. Therefore, Palpatine had to be alive for him to finish the story. Disney did not have a roadmap. Okay? Nothing. They didn't really have anything besides, we're gonna do 3 more Star Wars movies because people like those, okay? Money. I wasn't very happy with the whole Palpatine being alive thing in the first 15 minutes of the movie, but I got used to it as the movie progressed, and in the end, I feel like it was the best he could have done. Palpatine's alive, he raises up Star Destroyers from the ice, and then he's like, oh, I have an army. And the whole Star Destroyers under the ice thing is like, what? Like, are they waterproof? Isn't there gonna be water like seeping into the electronics and they're gonna be fried? How long have they been sitting there? There are people inside the Star Destroyers, as you can see from the footage. So have they been down under the ice for hundreds of years? They've been down there for a long, long time. So is it like the Star Destroyers rose up and then all the ships flew in and threw the people in? Or was it like they've been down there for a long time? Is there a full base down there? And these were just the Star Destroyers connected to the base? That wasn't explained. They were just like, okay, here's that. Also, the first 15 to 30 minutes of this movie, pretty much all the footage has been released from that 15 minutes besides the footage of Palpatine, which is a little weird because I was expecting, like, anytime you go into a movie, you're like, oh, wow, that shot's cool. For the first about, I would have to say 25 minutes, I was like, okay, besides that shot of Palpatine, all of that I've seen. They even released the movie clip of Kylo going into the Sith temple. All of that, besides the Palpatine shot, has been released. Freaking speeder chase in the desert, that whole scene was basically released. There was nothing else there besides, the later scene. Most of the first little chunk of the movie had already been released, all the shots. Like, I don't know why you would release that much footage. Like, I understand you gotta get butts in seats, but these butts and seats are going to be disappointed when they realize in the first 30 minutes of the movie they've already seen because they watched the trailers. So then we're introduced to Finn and Poe again, okay? Now, these characters have really been the only people that's been together in the trio. So Rey has never really been interacting with both of them at the same time, except for at the end of The Last Jedi, right? So we're assuming that they finally get to be in, like, the same kind of area, right? Which happens, just it happens a little bit later in the movie. It's kind of like how Endgame was like, this is all the heroes coming together, but then they were split up the entire movie except for the end. So it's like, you kind of promised it, you delivered, but didn't deliver anything else. Okay? Like, that's all you delivered. Like, you just served the dish and you walked away hands-free. So we have the scene where they're in this floating ice planet trying to get this message for Leia. They seem, okay, I understand. Now this is what I interpreted this as. Finn and Poe seemed really, really humorous. Now, the original Star Wars was very, very funny and humorous and had the great one-liners, but this just seemed like they were extra jokey. Now, I'm not sure if this is to make up for this extra seriousness of The Last Jedi, which had some scenes, but it was just overly taking itself too seriously. But they just didn't feel like themselves. Now, what I'm interpreting this as is JJ had a certain kind of book for these characters and how they were going to act as they progressed throughout the series. So I'm assuming this is how JJ thought these characters would act at this point in the saga, which for him would have been kind of the mid-end, because he's having to stuff his middle and end to the trilogy all in one movie. So it's very compacted. It's very compacted, okay? So overall, these characters, they just, like, one-liner after one-liner, it almost took me out of it. Like, they were funny, but then it was like, oh, right, they're trying to win a war here. Sorry, it took me out of the movie. It was just a little too much for me, and that's just my opinion. Okay, my opinion isn't wrong, it's my opinion. Oh wait, I just said that my opinion wasn't wrong. My opinion can be wrong in your eyes, but in my eyes, I think my opinion is valid, but its fidelity can be determined by you. And then we finally meet Rey. She's training, she's floating, she's levitating, like, stuff in the air, and it's like, oh, I guess she's a trained Jedi now. Because at this point in the series, you would imagine that she's a little more trained. But it felt like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi were two setups for different trilogies. So the final one's like, this is the middle and the end, like I said before. So it feels like she was training in the first movie lightly. Then it was like she was training pretty lightly, but then her training got interrupted, and then she did some floaty rock stuff, and that was it. And now she's pretty much levitating and doing the whole Jedi shebang, which is pretty apparent by the later scenes of the battles and the fights and the Force battles, and I don't know what they're actually called. And after the three characters finally meet up, after a lot of funny scenes that are like really extra jokey together, this is where the movie kind of takes off. It's like, it was really fast in the beginning, but in a bad way, okay? It was so fast you couldn't tell what was going on. But then it kind of slowed down, and then it sped up but increased the plot. Okay, like it was moving forward with the movie, but it was also keeping a faster pace instead of a very not, like, there was too much happening in such a fast amount of time in the first 30 minutes, which again is JJ saying, okay, let's bring you back to my movie instead of Ryan. Forget that even happened. This is what's going on. I need to catch you up, which I feel like is an appropriate thing to do in this scenario, but it just, again, it felt a little bit awkward, which he had to do. I couldn't have done any better. Not I'm a movie director, but I couldn't have done any better, and I can't see a better way that he could have pulled it off. So the movie goes on, and again, it kind of has this kind of cookie cutter thing, right? The first 30 minutes was kind of like same footage from the trailers and very fast. And then for the next, I think, hour or 45 minutes, it's planet jumping. You need to say this to this person, so go to this planet. You went to this planet and found this person, so you have to go to this planet, find this person so you can fix your thing, so you can actually find this. Once you do that, to find this, you have to find this key, in which you have to go to this planet to talk to this person, then have a battle here, so you can go to this planet to find the key, to go to this planet to find the actual thing that can lead you to the thing that you're actually looking for, right? So that's a little frustrating, but then we meet a few characters. A few characters are built upon, like Poe, evidently he's in a relationship with this. And there's also like this side plot of Poe actually being kind of rugged, but in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, he just seemed like this Luke Skywalker kind of Han Solo character where he was like very, like, didn't do anything wrong, that kind of character. But then this movie is kind of more, he's more Han Solo, so it's kind of like, it's very conflicting. It's like there was these set of characters in The Force Awakens, then it was different here, and then these characters are having to be built upon by these two movies, but it's not the same as this one or this one. It's kind of a mix of both. It's like you're being reintroduced to characters again, even though you've already seen these characters 2 times. Okay, there was one thing about this entire movie that really bugged me, but it was also a cool visual choice and just choice for the movie. It was the Force timing, as I like to call it, where Rey and Ben can like interact with each other from different locations. There's no real boundary or set parameter for where this can go. You can fight each other, you can hand each other stuff, you can hurt each other, and things from this side can also be transferred to this side. Like when he is on the planet and she's in the Star Destroyer, he kicks over something like the basket of red stuff, and it falls into the Star Destroyer. So it's kind of weird. It's like, so they can technically kill each other from miles or planets or light years away. So why don't they do this much more? If this is a thing, can Palpatine do it? Could he just like show up and be like, hey, I'm your granddad? Which is another thing. Palpatine is her granddad. What? Now, there was a theory that was going around before this movie was released, of course. I think it was when the first trailer was released, that Palpatine was Rey's father in that he was just trying to find the spirit of raising a family, which was a completely retarded theory, and also it wasn't true. Her being his granddaughter is a good twist, which I feel like JJ kind of had to do, because it was like there was so much mystery surrounding her heritage and who she was related to and what her family name was. It was like this big backstory that a part of her character was never really fleshed out. There was never really a full like character development for her, because there was so much about her that was hidden. And I feel like that should have been revealed at the end of the second movie, but Ryan had a different idea. He was like, I don't care about this backstory. It can just go in the trash. She's no one, okay, basically. So now JJ had to build upon that, because he couldn't just say, actually, I was lying. She wasn't no one. So he kind of had to take the she's no one for her parents' side, but her granddaddy is a really bad guy. Again, JJ, the reason I feel like a lot of people have a lot of problems with this movie is because JJ is having to work with what Rian Johnson screwed up, because he screwed up bad. He tried to do something that he wanted to do. He was not following a formula, because there was no formula. Disney did not have a formula for what this movie was going to do. There was no roadmap, okay? That is the problem with these. So back to the forced timing thing. Really, there is no extent to it, which technically means if Kylo wanted to, he could probably kill her in the forced timey situation, which is a little confusing. And then in the final battle between Palpatine and then Ben is fighting the Knights of Ren, she hands him the lightsaber, and then he has it and he fights them. And that's fine, because she has two, right? Hands them, he fights, and then like he turns around and she's there. So then I was like, oh, okay, they're forced timing. But then they fight Palpatine, and then he gets knocked off a cliff, and then he comes back, and then he dies, of course. And I was like, oh, so he's not in a forced time. Then how did he get from one side of this temple to the other in just like a pan? Was it a visual, okay, he's here now? Or was it literally he was just teleported? Or were they having a fight literally right next to the Emperor and Rey? It was never really explained. And then in the Death Star, he just is there, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a forced time situation. And it was confusing, because they can do so much in this like relative time space phone call thing that they can do, that I was so that I got confused as the viewer on if he was actually there or not, which is hard, because you're like, should I feel like high suspense for this scene, like she can actually die, because it's never fleshed out if you can kill each other through this forced time? So should I feel like, should I have like a lot of emotion built up for this scene, or is it just like, oh, he's not actually there? And that was never fleshed out. Also, with this whole like forced time and Jedi powers thing, they can now super jump, like they're double jumping like Mario or something. I'm like, this is a thing? They never showed that before. The closest thing that anyone's ever done in the Star Wars universe to double jumping is Yoda in Revenge of the Sith, or Attack of the Clones. Okay, talking about the final battle, okay, between Palpatine and Rey. A lot happens in the scene. It feels like JJ really had to pull some strings and a lot of plot devices to really get this to really mush up together. And there's a lot happening. What this really reminded of, and what kind of this entire movie reminded of, is Avengers Endgame, because there's a lot happening. There's a lot of characters coming together. There's a big bad battle at the end, and a big character dies. So let me just kind of explain this scene, because this is kind of the biggest scene in the movie. Basically, Rey goes to the temple, right? She walks in, there is the throne, but Emperor Palpatine, he's alive, like that was stated in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Whoa! So he dangles from his little robot arm thing. Ben finally shows up, runs in with a blaster, and he's like, woohoo, where are ye? What are you doing? Where is my bae? So then, of course, he stumbles upon the Knights of Ren, and Rey, I guess, force feels, unless he was right beside her, the Knights of Ren, so either she saw him, or she force felt that he needed a lightsaber, so she was like, yes, I will strike you down. Psych, I don't have this lightsaber anymore, and I turn on you, and Emperor Palpatine's like, nah, you ain't turning on me, guards, attack, and they start to attack, and then Ben fights the Knights of Ren, and then they have a battle, and then he comes to her side, and then it's like, woo, okay, now we're fighting him together. And then he's like, psych, I take all of your assets. And then he sucks the essence out of them, and then they drop dead, and then Ben gets thrown off a cliff, and then she's like, nah, fam, and then she starts doing the lightsaber thing. It's so much going on in this scene. It's like, this is the final moment of the movie, okay? You better put so much effort into this because this is the last time we're gonna be seeing these characters, okay? By the way, I didn't know, again, with these powers that no one's ever talked about, there has never been a I'm sucking the soul out of you power that I've ever seen. Now, maybe it's in the comics that are now canon that weren't canon, or in books that were canon that I never heard of, or in TV shows I never really watched the Clone Wars. What was it in there? You're gonna have to tell me in the comment section below. But I have never heard of this, okay? So I'm not sure if it's just lore that I haven't heard of, or if this is just power that they had to kind of throw in there. So basically, he sucks the essence, he regrows some fingers, he gets glowing eyes, and then Palpatine is like, he's shooting lightning up into the sky, which was like, I wasn't so sure about that. That was a little bit of a moment, like, I can get this lightning, but like, he was shooting like a spire of lightning up into the sky, and he was like messing with, I don't know. It felt very So basically Rey starts tripping. No. Basically Rey is looking up and she's like, whoa, look at the sky. Look, my friends are dying. For a second there, I thought this is where the movie was gonna end, where it pans past the lightning and just lands on the stars. Because it looked like when the opening crawl is done, there's stars and it pans down. And I was like, they're just gonna leave it there? That's where it ends. And then it pans back down here and I was like, okay, so it's not gonna end there. Really, really cool scene happens, right? Palpatine has said 3 times, like, you can't strike me down, I'm all the Sith. And finally, very Avengers Endgame moment where, of course, Thanos like, I'm inevitable. Tony's like, I'm Iron Man. And then he snaps, and then a very Endgame-like scene is, of course, Palpatine again restates this. He's like, I am all the Sith. And she's like, well, I'm all the Jedi. That was a really cool scene. I feel like it was fan service, really, but I just felt like it was just a good moment in general. It was a really good moment. It kind of got me reinvested. All of this space battle, horses on ships and cannons and wiping out towers, and it felt like the space battle was such a big sequence, but it was kind of being ignored. Like, they had such this big sequence right next to this big sequence that was literally right next to each other. It was kind of confusing. It was like, so am I supposed to be invested in these people dying, or am I supposed to be invested in these people dying? I don't feel like they should have voice crack from puberty hitting hard. I feel like they should have had such a big battle, space battle scene epicness right there when they had such a big battle down here. That's really the thing that's ending the saga. But the really cool moment that happens before the whole I'm all the Jedi thing is when I thought the movie was going to end, all of the voices of the past Jedi start talking to her, which is really, really, really cool. Because it was just like, it was a really big moment. It was emotional. It was like, this is all coming together. It's like all of these Jedi coming together saying, hey, you need to get up, okay? You need to end this. Because the saga's ending, and you need to end the saga right now because we're ending towards the end of the runtime of the film. So I feel like you should really wrap this up and kind of kill Palpatine. Basically saying, hey, you need to do this. This is what we've all been fighting towards, ending this evil force, good versus evil kind of thing. And that was really cool. That was really cool that they did the whole, all the Jedi literally in her, okay, no. All the Jedi with her, I guess. Which I think would have been cool to see all of the Force ghosts of the Jedi. But the voices were good. I mean, I guess that would be a lot of money that I had to spend on all those actors because, you know, expensive. So basically, Rey is like, I fight you with both lightsabers. And then a really gruesome death of Palpatine. Like, I was disturbed by how much detail of him disintegrating away and his skin being pulled back. That was kind of disturbing. I'm surprised that they put that in there. I would assume like maybe a little bit of like, and then like they flash towards her, and then like maybe a skeleton, and then they flash towards her, and then he's dead. But the way that they just kind of held on his entire essence being pulled away is very disturbing. It was still visually interesting, and it was a very nice closure to the film. And then the space battle ends, which I wasn't really invested in because this was such a big sequence. So then Ben is like, yo, I'm alive, and I'm gonna come towards you, and then he heals her, and then she's like, oh, look, I'm alive, and then they finally, Reylo happens, okay, all these fans be like, oh my god, Reylo, it finally happened. It was a cool scene. I wasn't very invested in that ship, but I know a lot of people, my sister, that were very invested in this kind of thing, so that was a little bit of a fan service moment. I'm not sure if that was really where the story was going, but it kind of felt like, you guys kind of want this. This is kind of where the story was heading, so we might as well just let it happen. And then Kylo Ren dies. Like, he, like, not just, like, dies. Like, my boy disintegrates, okay? I was not expecting that. Like, I had a kind of slight feeling that he might die or she might die. I didn't really expect her to die. I expected him to die more than her, but I really didn't expect him to die. It was like they shared this beautiful moment. He was like, okay, bye. He was just laying there, and I was like, oh no, she's gonna have to heal him. It's this back and forth healing thing. Isn't that cool? And then like, I squinted because it looked like he was fading, and I was like, oh my god, bro, what's wrong with my eyes? And I realized he's just gone. His clothes just flip over, and I'm like, what? He's dead. My boy dead. He dead. Oh, he disintegrated. Oh, he gone. Oh, there's so many twists and turns in this film that almost felt like too much. Like, there was no reason for him to die. It didn't improve the story. It was a good scene, but why? Why would you do that? He was a good character. He's been through us all these movies. You finally really built up his like. Kylo Ren's really the only character that really had an arc in this whole saga. Like Finn, he kind of went like here, and like he kind of got a little bit of arc because he was like, I'm not a stormtrooper anymore. And then the Force, like in The Last Jedi, he was kind of like, he almost went down, like he wasn't very important. And then here he just kind of became jokey. And then that was it. Poe, he was like, I guess I'm good now, and then he screwed up and he's sad, and then he is good in this movie, and then he screwed up and then he's sad, and then that was pretty much it. With Kylo, it's like, he is a bad guy, and then he went good, and then he died. I'm like, what? He had a perfectly good arc. There was no reason for him to die. It would have been awesome to see both of them walking into the sunset. And from articles that I've read, they shot 6 different endings for this movie. And people on set were like, yep, Adam Driver, the guy who plays Kylo Ren, was on this Tatooine planet with Rey and BB-8. And they were walking into a dual sunset. Which means that he was supposed to be alive in the end of the movie. Why did he die? There was no reason for it to do that. I don't know why that happened. That almost made me mad.
Why did he die?
Yeah, but he's gone. Okay, oh my god. And we come to the ending of the movie. Rey goes back to Tatooine. This old woman's there, and she's like, hey, what's your name? And she's like, Rey. And she's like, well, what's your name? And she's like, Rey. And she's like, what's your name? And she's like, Rey. She's like, Rey. And she's like, what's your family name? And she's like, I don't have one. She turns, and there's Luke and Leia, and they're standing there. And that was awesome to see Luke and Leia there. She's like, I'm Rey Skywalker. Which, Kylo Ren and Rey are related, okay? Because in a comic, it's revealed that Anakin's father was Darth Sidious, okay? Palpatine. And her grandfather is Palpatine. And Kylo Ren's grandfather is Vader. And if Vader's father is Palpatine, means they're related. They're like third cousin removed, but they're still related. She has this like orange lightsaber, which pretty much means she's a gray Jedi, which I discovered gray Jedi all the way back when The Force Awakens released. It was actually my mom who discovered it, and she was like, oh, what about this? And I was like, I don't feel like that's ever gonna really be canon. And then I was like, oh, I guess it's canon. So that's cool. And then she's like, I'm Rey Skywalker, and then she walks in the sunset, and then the movie ends. The walk into the sunset was awesome, okay? That's one of the most iconic shots in Star Wars. It's Luke looking to the dual sunset on Tatooine. That when you think Star Wars, or when you think A New Hope, or you say Luke Skywalker, you think of that. The farm boy looking to the sunset of his sandy planet. The scavenger girl looking to the sunset of a planet that has sand. It was a very good ending. I'm glad they did that. I don't think it was fan service as much as it was kind of a full circle, looping it together, final episode of this 40-year plus saga. Do I think it deserved a 56 on Rotten Tomatoes? No. If I had to give a percentage, what would I give it? I would give this movie a solid 87, okay? It was way better than The Last Jedi, and I would say it's better than The Force Awakens just because The Force Awakens took it so like light and easy. It was very, very safe, that movie. It was like, it didn't really rock the boat too much. Last Jedi was just like, I don't care what happened in the last movie, okay? This is my movie. I feel like if I was the viewer, that I could take out The Last Jedi, throw it away, and watch The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker back to back, and with as much exposition as was in the first little bit, I don't feel like I would have missed anything. Besides Luke dying in the last movie, I feel like they could have explained that in The Rise of Skywalker, and you could have just watched those 2 movies and that would be the trilogy. But of course, Last Jedi happened and we just don't talk about that. So overall, very good movie. Did it have flaws? Yes. Was the movie flawed in general? Not really. It had flaws. It wasn't flawed, okay? Look at the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. You will see that people actually gave it a pretty good score. People aren't looking for the whole series. They're just looking at this one movie. And this movie has some flaws. And they're taking those and they're saying, this movie's flawed. But it's not really flawed when you look at it in the entire saga of movies. I feel like this is one of the best movies in the entire saga. If I had to pick a favorite, Empire Strikes Back or A New Hope, I mean, it's still a pretty good movie. It's a good movie, it's not the best movie, okay? And I feel like JJ did the best that he could with this movie and really this trilogy, because he's what made this trilogy. So yeah, that is the review of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Walking out of the theater, it left an impact on me. Like, I was just standing there like, whoa. Now, I know I didn't cover the whole Luke Force Ghost thing, just because as much as that was a good scene, it wasn't a huge scene, the whole broad thing, and I didn't want this video to be super duper long. But yes, Luke Force Ghost, it was a thing. I feel like this was a jab at Rian Johnson, okay? J.J. Abrams ended The Force Awakens saying, hey, here's your lightsaber, Luke. Rian Johnson said, no, don't want the lightsaber. And then Rey goes to throw it, and Luke catches it on the same island where those 2 parallels took place. I feel like that was a jab at Rian Johnson. Was it a good jab? It was very apparent in the theater. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a jab. That is a jab. That is a screw you Rian Johnson moment from Mr. J.J. Abrams himself. I could be wrong, but that felt like a very, screw you, this is my trilogy, you messed up. Overall, this movie was amazing. Would I suggest watching it? Yes. In fact, I would say watch it, because as much flaws that it has, I feel like it really ties this whole thing together in a really nice little package. So thank you guys for watching. I know this was a little bit of a different video, but I was just like, you know what? I don't want to produce this video too much later when the movie doesn't have any hype around it, because then this video won't reach enough people. Also, I tried to talk louder in this video because in my last video, I was very quiet and you could barely hear what I was saying, so I'm trying to be louder. So also, I am going to be getting a new mic. I will be getting a full-blown mic set up in a little while, so just look forward to that. If I don't produce any videos in a little bit, that's probably because I'm waiting for the mic to come in so that I can have better audio quality. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. All I ask is that you maybe share this video with some of your friends if you enjoyed it. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. And yeah, I guess I will see you soon in the next video or a video some point in the future when I get my new mic. And yeah, I feel like I was gonna say something. Finn and Poe should have been in a relationship. They were totally a perfect combination. They totally had feelings for each other. I feel like Finn and Poe should have been